Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So all sorts of wonderful people here today to celebrate, I think, a rare but interesting and special occasion for our city. We're redoing something we did back in the early 80s. So we are located here in the heart of downtown. And once upon a time, we think around the early 80s, late 70s, you know, Albuquerque changed the way downtown works. And what we did is we built this flyover and we put a big fence along the rail yards and we literally cut downtown in two. We use terms now like East Downtown and Downtown, and those terms are only like 30 years old. There was no division between those two neighborhoods or communities in the past. And there are some things that have been created as a result of the fence behind us. We split this community in two, and even I'm old enough to remember the Wool Warehouse, going to concerts there. We won't talk about what was in the building next to it, but thanks for those of you who've been around, know why I'm laughing about that. But this was the theater district, and of course originally it was actually literally a Wool Warehouse, and it still in some ways is a theater district, but it's just not part of downtown or part of our community in a pedestrian accessible sense. And when you pair this with what's happening on the other side of the tracks, the development that's going on with all things Glorietta Station and everything that you see behind us and down here, whether it's restaurants or workspace, and even the mixed-use hotel that we funded that is going to be hopefully right in this neighborhood that's going to connect over to the convention center. We need pedestrian walkways also to reconnect downtown and like literally re-piece together our urban core in Albuquerque. So while this is a relatively small project, this is very, very symbolic. This is, you know, us sort of knocking down that proverbial wall, reuniting communities, and setting the stage for a much more vibrant downtown. So today we're announcing the end of this fenced railroad crossing, in the beginning of this road being a road again. It's going to be a pedestrian crossing. It's also going to be a vehicle crossing, and it will be just as safe as all our other vehicle crossings that we have in downtown, like the one just right down the street at Lomas. But most importantly, people can bounce back and forth between the office buildings and the restaurants and the hotels and the theaters like they used to some 30, 40 years ago. So for us, this is the Marquette Crossing Project. It's something that I know Councilor Benton probably dreamed of 20 years ago. And we're finally getting this thing done. And so we're doing the groundbreaking on this project. And it's scheduled to be completed in spring of 2022, so it is going to take some time, but we'll be able to celebrate it this summer. And lastly, I would just mention this is the first construction piece of the rail trail. And of course, that is essentially rebuilding the crossroads in downtown for pedestrians. And again, it used to be Route 66 and then Camino Real. That's why downtown is literally here in the first place. And so our modern version of that is going to be a pedestrian and retail and restaurant friendly trail that connects the rail yards phase 1 just down to Lomas, but one day it might even all the way wrap around to Old Town because there is a rail track that goes down there. So that's our like phase 3, 4, and 5 vision that we're asking our legislators for. So there's lots of folks to thank for this. Frank Martinez, is Frank here, by the way? I know his son is, but okay. But anyway, send him our best. And this was also a dream that he had even when I talked to him at his house some 3 years ago. He asked me about this project. I don't know if folks are here from these companies, but I know Guzman's doing some demolition here. Raise your hand. TLC's here, part of the rail trail group. Also, Herzog and Parametrics are contractors working on this. And then, of course, our Municipal Development Department and our MRA department that are part of this, and the Friends of the Rail Trail. So we'll hear a little bit from these groups. But let's start with our City Councilor and champion for urbanizing downtown, Councilor Ike Benton.
Thank you, Mayor. And right off the bat, do have to thank the Mayor. This has been a long-standing dream of many people, myself included. And to take action on this during his first term, which is still technically in, is pretty impressive. So I want to thank Mayor Keller and his whole team. Of course, Lawrence Ryle, who knows a thing or two about trains and what they do. it was very important to have him on this team. Frank Martinez was mentioned, and you know, one of Frank's life's work has been the El Camino Real, and to celebrate El Camino Real and its history. And this is actually going to connect to that trail as well. So once it gets across Broadway, we're going to have an enhanced crossing on Broadway for pedestrians and cyclists, and they'll be able to, visitors from, of course, the Convention Center, which is right here. I think it opens up a whole new world for tourism, but also our sense of cultural pride in who we are in neighborhoods like Martineztown and downtown. I bought my first house over here at 5th and Granite for $30,000 in 1979, and Ainge Hardware was here. Probably some of the old timers might remember Ainge Hardware, but beautiful old-fashioned hardware store, and that was before the overpass. And here we are again. So it was only 40 years ago. So we're coming back with connectivity through downtown and appreciation for what rail does for us as well when we can work together with those who operate it. So thanks, everybody.
Okay, now I think we're just going to wrap up with some friends of the rail trail, and I just want to give you a pedestrian example of connecting all these. You know, let's say you get off at the Rail Runner, and you wanted to go to a theater over at one of our theaters there, and then you wanted to go eat across the street at Villa Miriam and get some coffee. Right now, like, you literally have to go like up all the way to 3rd Street, over to 3rd Street. Then you try and go here, but you'd be blocked by a fence. So you'd walk back around on that bridge, but then you'd have to go all the way over to Broadway and then walk back down here. I mean, it's literally comical. It's like some sort of Pac-Man game you'd have to play to do that simple thing, which all of us would think would be easy downtown. You actually can't do that right now, and that's what this would free up as part of the Rail Trail project. So, Kelly Ward from Friends of the Rail Trail. Kelly?
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to speak a little bit about the Friends of the Rail Trail. And I'm just one person representing this, but there's a group of folks, business owners or property owners along this section of the rail that have really kicked into high gear to provide a private sector group to support the overall initiative of the cities, and that is to improve the cool factor in the city, right? So to create a pedestrian and bike walkway with a lot of amenities along the trail, along the rail, from, as the mayor said, from the rail yard all the way to Sawmill. And we're going to help with promoting that and raising funds for it, and hopefully at some point helping to provide the programming so that when people come down here and enjoy downtown in this kind of way, there's something really spectacular for them to do. I also represent Innovate ABQ at Broadway and Central, and from the inception of that project, we have envisioned this crossing, and we envisioned the rail trail. So our master plan envisions a very active rail trail, and so we're really happy to support this crossing because it's step one, and we're really happy to support the rail trail. So thank the Garcia family, TLC Plumbing, and Seth Gardenswartz and others who have contributed to the start of the rail trail, and the mayor and the MRA for also supporting that initiative. And you'll be hearing a lot more from us as these projects continue to develop. So thank you very much.
Okay, so with that, we're a little behind schedule here, so I think what let's do is let's take our picture, and then we'll, carry on with whatever else we're working on. But let's go ahead and break some ground.
All right, everyone, please just right around. So, Mayor, Councilor, and everybody else can push around. Mr. Garcia over here on the left would be great. I'm not a walk. It's not my fault, but I said
Yeah. Sorry.
We're going to be okay, guys? You want to come up a little bit? I'm not in the position to move this right now. Sarah, will you help me out, please? Grab that side. We'll just walk this out of the way real quick.
Going this way, my way?
Yeah, sure. 3, 2, got it.
You can see right now, city leaders are getting in place to break ground here on this new railroad crossing at First and Marquette, moving the podium and whatnot a little bit. This is first rail crossing to be built in downtown in decades. Here we go, back to the live coverage.
But thank you for all your help on this. And come grab a shovel.
You know how to use one of those, don't you?
Yeah. All right, so let's just count from 3 backwards. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Do one more.
Another shovel full.
Okay, I'll try it one more time.
All right,
3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Yee!
All right. There's some of that subpar enthusiasm on the clapping.
So,
There you go.
there we go.
And there it is, the official groundbreaking on the first part really of this rail trail system that the city of Albuquerque is building downtown. This is First and Marquette. What is currently a closed-off roadway is now being turned into an at-grade or a street-level railroad crossing. That crossing is expected to open in September 2022. Some of the idea here is basically to build that walking path that goes all the way along downtown and continues basically from Lomas and eventually all towards the rail yards here. So as you're getting a kind of live picture look at some of the just the images and sights here from the actual event. So what we expect is by about spring 2022 that this project will be opened up so that cars will be able to cross back and forth. Mayor Tim Keller actually sort of commenting about how comical it is to get across downtown. You're either taking one of these bridges over the railroad, and you can see that kind of bridge there in the background, or you're snaking through some of these downtown streets through Broadway and whatnot. And there is some development that's happening there basically near Broadway and Lomas, really specific to the Garcia family I had mentioned a little bit earlier. If you were catching some of our pre-conversation going into this, the Garcia family is one of those who's put a lot of investment in buying up some of the buildings around downtown and expects to sort of open them up for other business ventures. There's one of them back there right now called Via Miriam. It's a coffee company with a little cafe down there. And this ideally is supposed to help with a little bit of that access between Broadway and the downtown core. So really, so cars from downtown are no longer having to go on Broadway per se to then come around, to go on Lomas to then cross the railroad tracks and then come around on Broadway and access businesses on what would be the east side of the railroad tracks. You're able to basically, with this cut through, cars will be able to cut through from sort of the west downtown core on Marquette, whereas right now Marquette is a one-way bridge that goes over into the west side of downtown. So that being said, just want to give you guys another good little rendering photo. This is what that project is going to look like when it's all complete. You can see there that at-grade street-level crossing, and we'll have sort of those arms that drop down when any trains are coming past. And then also the idea of building basically a walking path along that as well. You can see where this is exactly at. Here's the aerial map, the overhead view. You can see right there what they call Phase 1 Marquette Crossing. That's on the right side of your screen. They sort of pinpoint Glorietta Station and the Convention Center as sort of being on the wings of this crossing. So an interesting project that should be coming together in the next several months. Spring 2022 is when this is expected to open. And as one of the commenters said here today with the Friends of the Rail Trail, this is really what they see as an idea of enhancing the cool factor downtown. We appreciate y'all joining us here for some special live coverage of this. Tune in for more live coverage anytime we do these things. We send out app alerts. You can download the KRQE News 13 app in the Android and iPhone app stores, and it's the best way to know when we're doing this. But also check out krqe.com. We'll have links and banners that sort of say when we are doing this that are parked right there at the top of your screen with live coverage and whatnot. We hope you have a good rest of your day, and in the meantime, thanks for watching.